Hey, I'm Mike from Retro Boost, and today is something new. I'm going to be recording a commentary over all my revisit slash just visiting reviews, basically all the review episodes. I wanted to do this because it's a great way to preserve the memories and trivia since I filmed everything less than a year ago. So it'll be fun to go through it and recount some of the behind-the-scenes information and other things, maybe include some alternate takes here and there, stuff that wasn't used. So this will be on the Metroid episode, the pilot episode. Shush, it's probably delivery. The pilot episode that I filmed. This one was filmed back in March of 2020. Or no, sorry, April of 2020 is when I started filming this one. So didn't actually air it until toward August because I wanted to film a bunch of them, improve my process and whatnot. But I'll go ahead and get it started here. So sync it up on starting the video with the spacebar press. So 3, 2, 1, start. Here we go.
What to play?
So
many choices.
This one just jumps right in, we'll fade to black, and here we go.
Oh, wait. I've already got it.
This was not the opening that I originally filmed. I originally filmed me browsing through my game collection, which you can see to the left side of the screen there. And I grabbed Metroid Prime, and then I'm like, oh, you know what? Let's pick an older one. Same kind of conversation that happens after this. This is all afterward. Sumo attire adjuster. I had 2 versions of that too. That's the better version that has the rating on the bottom of it. The game throws in. God, we did so many takes of that too.
Well, that makes more sense.
That's my dad helping me out, throwing the game at me. A lot of takes of this. I don't use scripts. I have ideas. I write little guidelines. It's just topics to talk about. And then I'll just film a number of takes until I feel comfortable with what the performance looks like. Oh man, that's the old, just fade in. We've gotten so much better since then. Better logo and opening sequence.
Before we get started, explain how many playing the game today.
There was a whole bit that got cut from here too. I filmed this whole presentation on the background of Metroid. Which I cut because number one, I feel like everyone knows what Metroid at least is. If you didn't, I mean, you wouldn't really be too disserviced with what I've presented here, but I feel like everyone's gonna know what it is. But the video is already 40 minutes long, so it was another 5 minutes that I was able to cut and trim. Because this is before I really kind of had a formula figured out, so my videos were longer on average. At least here and there they were. But yeah, we jump right into it. Like I pointed out, I was using the Retron 5 for this, which I haven't used since, but I am planning on using it again soon. I've been doing some capture, so look forward to that. I'm basically going to use this console every time I do an NES or Super Nintendo or Genesis game, or Game Boy Advance actually, or Game Boy. Gosh, it plays so much. Talking about the title screen here, Zebith.
That's a heck of a
I kind of prefer that to Zebus. I hate that so much.
Weird translation issues like that.
I call it Zebus and Metroid Other M, and it just kind of grates against my ears. I just feel like it should be Zebes. Oh man. Oh, that's also my old setup too. So
Singular.
Where I'm sitting there, that's right after I got this computer built. So I got this really weird setup where you got a couch behind me that I never used for anything. Because of how it's set up right now, that office chair became the position to sit in to watch movies or whatever. All that good stuff.
I never liked that personally, but to each his own. I like Zebes more.
I also captured the game with the Elgato 4K 60 Mark II internal capture card, which I also haven't used since the second episode. I thought it was defective because it does little stutters here and there. Turned out that it was the setting for how footage was being encoded, so I fixed it. So I've been using that Elgato card to capture some recent footage. It looks really great. This is 1080p, or no, this is 720p at 60 frames a second. The video itself is 1080p. I mean, it looks really clean when it isn't stuttering, at least, but that was the one issue. I do all my own game capture, with that said. None of this is like taken from some other person's playthrough or anything. It's all me. If a situation ever arises where I need to use someone else's footage, they'll get full credit for it. I'll even contact them beforehand. I'm just like that kind of guy. Like, I want them to know about it in advance. Yeah, everything I've done so far is my own footage. So I'm limited on what I can show. If I have a skill problem, or like if I just didn't know about something, you're not going to see it in my videos because I never got to it. Not only can you find more items, but you can for this production on this video was also really difficult because it's my first video that I ever did for the show. So every live action scene got filmed and then like completely redone. Same for like the editing, the final edit. I edited the whole thing and it was roughly 30 minutes, and then I scrapped the whole thing and started completely from scratch. So like that first thing took like a week, and then I threw it away. So yeah, I still have that monitor. Actually, it's next to me over here. That's my old setup now. So the TV and the theater system is the same, but obviously I'm not sitting in front of it anymore because I don't use my TV as a monitor anymore. I used to do that. I still can if I want to. But I mean, yeah, that setup was very thrown together. Needless to say, I am actually playing the game for real in this thing right here. So you can, if you watch it, you see my buttons match up with the screen inputs. When I do the Kraid thing later on, I'm pretending.
Let's take a look at the manual and see if it can help
Gosh,
with our issue.
I have the manual for a lot of these games. So this is the manual for Metroid. It's in pristine condition, which is great because the box itself is pretty banged up.
Let's go to page.
And like it is fun to read through this because the illustrations are like hand drawn. They're very clearly hand drawn, and like Samus is holding the controller. Like, it's pretty cute. They don't do manuals anymore. They stopped doing it after like Gen 7, PS3 era. You wouldn't really see them for most games. PS3, 360. Wii games, by Nintendo at least, would sometimes at least, but that was the end of that era. I have a bunch from my GameCube games too. But man, it's just like crappy maps. So like they map out. The first area is like completely mapped out, kind of. But like that Brinstar zone and like Norfair is ridiculous. Norfair is a giant labyrinth. Ridley and Kraid's areas aren't that big. Like Ridley's is bigger. Kraid's is basically just like a giant loop with some middle sections, but it's stupid. It should have been in there because like it's not a crime to like show people what the world looks like. You know, it's our job to go from point to point B, but like something would have been nice. Because that map doesn't tell you how you actually move between areas, because to get to Ridley from Norfair, it's a secret. You have to bomb the floor. So, like, how would you wouldn't know? So, yeah, I used a map for, like, everything I did. I would reference it just to make sure that I'm on the right path. But I will say, I didn't have to use it all that much. It was pretty much just for, like, the trans Norfair to Ridley stuff is where I used it most of the time. Other than that, I didn't really have to use it. I didn't need it at all for Kraid's Lair. Kraid's Lair was pretty simple. I accidentally got to that pit and found the Kraid area. So, didn't need it for everything, but, like, that Norfair part was
game's first area is
awful.
This is where the story begins.
There's a title card, so I remember this. So I did title cards for every area, but I think I forgot the one for Ridley.
Pretty simple setup to it. It's divided into 4
see here.
areas. The first side, which
Talking
is this
about
blue
stuff.
area. This is the left side of Brinstar. Then you have
I felt the need to like
It's broken up by these areas.
do
that have
everything
these acid
for this
pits in them.
episode,
There's
because I
also
wasn't
a
sure
top middle
what
portion
direction I
that's
want the
defined
show
by
to
its
be.
green
Like, do I want to be like really,
architecture,
really
and then
informative
the
and like
right
talk
portion,
about
which is defined by
the
its
history
gold.
of the game and
The
like
fact
all
that
of
they
its
kinda code
facets,
each
or
area
do I want it to be more like an
is
abridged
explore once you
playthrough where it's like, all right, we're gonna go from this to this to that to this in the experience, or is it just gonna be all comedy? Like, here's how the game works, and I hate this feature, rawr. So I kind of did all of those things for this episode, which I didn't ever do that again. I picked one or the other. Star Fox is like a pretty typical, just like, here's some things worth talking about, XYZ. It doesn't really go into like the playthrough itself. Kirby follows the playthrough. So like they're all like a little, every episode's a little bit different. I didn't really hit the stride until like Gex. I think the Gex one is a pretty good balance of everything. That is probably how I'll do most episodes going forward, because like it does take you through the whole game. Like, okay, we got the first area and the levels, and here's how the game works. And I don't like that's the flicker right there. There it was. That stuttering is because the encoding isn't keeping up with it. So it sucked too, because that happens on like all of the most important moments I need to reference. Like I hate it. There was no substitute for some of these clips, and I just but I fixed it.
Although I pushed into here on a little expedition shortly after the game began. You really shouldn't come here though until after at least getting the high jump boots to explore most of it. Kraid's hideout, though, is also pretty bright and colorful compared to other areas in the game. The dominant colors here are definitely white and green. It's got this kind of castle aesthetic to it. Kraid's hideout is not that complicated, at least the path.
Yeah, I went to Kraid's lair early and I got like destroyed by so many enemies. So I was trying to get the energy tanks you can grab.
Extremely complicated. And it even has
you have to have the high jump boots to get into there.
You fight, and there's no reward for defeating it. It's just like a waste of your life.
You never went to the fake Kraid boss. I didn't feel the need to. It plays the exact same as regular Kraid. There's no difference except for his color. But like that, there's no like nothing else changes. So yeah, didn't feel the need to show everything.
Last major
and then
you explore before the finale.
Yeah, there's no Ridley title card.
This is one of the most difficult.
I didn't notice that until like way after it came out, because like I said, I started filming this in like April of 2020, and I didn't finish it until like the second week of May is when I finished it, and I showed it to my social circle, like my friends and family, got everyone's feedback on it, you know, and I continued to like edit it and tweak it and change little things and change the music, and the logo was still under construction. Like the logo didn't exist at this point. I didn't have the logo like done until like July. Like it was pretty close to when I actually uploaded everything. So this was constantly being re-edited. Try to make it the best that I possibly could. But despite all that, I still missed that Ridley title card.
It's really strange to me, but whatever. At least it's that much. I don't have to worry about wasting my life on a fake Ridley, just the real one. Getting in and out alive is more the challenge here. The game's final area.
Turian had some good footage, funny moments. Now that's happening. So the statues are not invisible. So this is a thing that you'll hear some people that do these videos talk about. So the game, whatever the game runs at, if that's different than what the video itself gets rendered at, in this case the game's running at 60 frames a second, but the video was edited at 30 frames a second, and that was because of my limitations at the time. I do 60 FPS now for everything, starting with the Kirby episode. So Kirby is 60, Luigi's Mansion is 60, etc. That creates like a problem where certain things that flicker in the game essentially become invisible, because you got 60 flickering here and 30 flickering there, and it's like when sound waves meet, they cancel each other out. Sort of. I forget the exact way it happens, but that's why. It's because the frame rates are different, so it causes like a flicker effect, and like you'll see it where
is improving your
when
character's
Samus takes like damage,
making Samus more
um,
durable and more powerful in the
sometimes it'll
process.
happen
It's definitely one of
probably.
the games
Yeah,
that
like she'll
actually-
flicker invisible.
the further you get, the
It's
stronger
really
you feel
noticeable in like games like
and
Mega
more
Man
fun
and
it
stuff
is.
like that, because
And I
you'll
was
see
having
Mega Man
way
footage
more
at some
fun
point
with
here,
this
and it
game
happens in
further
that.
than I got, 'cause I
He
could
goes
feel
totally
the
invisible when he
difference
gets hit.
between all these abilities versus the start of the game when all you can do is shoot up.
Because yeah, I also did capture footage for Mega Man 2 and Super Metroid and Zero Mission to do this. Excuse me. And all that was captured on the Retron 5 system. Actually, no.
You're limited in the directions you can shoot.
Yeah,
Up and
yes.
left and right.
We're all Retron 5.
Now, in itself, that wouldn't be
Trying
that
to
big
think.
of a deal.
Thought
But the
that one might have been an
problem is
emulator.
so many of the game's enemies are coming at you diagonally.
I don't think so.
from the
Yeah, I
ceiling,
think they're all Retron 5.
which gives you very limited options in intercepting.
I have like everything on my PC as far as emulation goes, but when it comes to producing content for the show, I want to use the official hardware whenever possible.
This is something that they definitely improved, though, in Super Metroid, which is the next
But,
Metroid game on consoles.
I use the Wii's Virtual Console when I can because it looks better than using the Source N64 games footage.
Even in Metroid Zero Mission, which is a remake of the original.
Because whatever I could do to make it look better.
Including shooting down.
Because N64 capture
Later on, but it's
doesn't look very good. With the systems that I have, at least. You can get pretty high-end stuff that can
the second
do
quirk is something that
post-processing on it to make it look a lot cleaner, but I don't have anything like that.
It makes me really an angry little boy.
This is funny. The enemies can travel between rooms. Because they can't do that in any other Metroid game I know of. That won't happen in Super Metroid or Metroid Prime. Metroid Prime Trilogy, enemies will like attack you through the doors, but they can't actually cross the line. Like pirates can shoot at you through them, but that's it. In this game, they can totally cross dimensions here.
That's the part that pisses me off. You can't do anything about it. You just sit there and take it. I'm going in this room. Oh, look, here he comes. Boom. Free damage. It even happens in weird situations where these fly enemies are at the edge of the screen.
This is weird,
You
too.
can see 'em, like,
They get like...
freaking and freaking
They're
out.
still there, but you
They're
can't see
gone.
them because of that flicker thing I mentioned.
There's the door being
But
opened,
they're like being
load in,
held
boom,
there
and they
on the
just sit
edge,
there.
and they get like released as soon as you go between
It
worlds,
even happens
like
in
the
game's
doors.
final area. It's just so
It's funny.
aggravating. You're loading this room, you see the ring projectiles spawn and then fly toward the door, and you're like, no. Oh, there you go. And those things do a lot of damage too. So
Yeah,
it's
those
just,
ring
extra
things are
aggravating. It's
awful.
Like a tax.
Happens
You're
a lot.
paying a toll, and the fee is your life as you go through these doors.
Turian-
It's ridiculous.
Turian sucked for capture because that's the area where the footage broke up the most.
Probably hard to tell what just happened there, but my issue is hit stun. Hit stun is when you take damage in a video game, your character gets like knocked back a little bit, and you get a couple frames of invincibility.
So for Samus it's the opposite. She flashes in the regular game, but she doesn't because of the frame difference between the game and the editing software. So you're not seeing her flicker because of the frame difference.
Games that have this are plenty difficult. But going back to Metroid again, like look how I take multiple hits all in like a short span here. The hit stun only seems to last a fraction of a second.
Yeah, damage
And this
stacks
led
up
to a
pretty
lot of
quick in this
deaths
game. You just get
early on in the game
booped
for me
around by
before I could really
stuff.
figure out how dangerous enemies can be because of this. So the last thing I want to touch on is how the game handles death.
It's flickering
This
again
is
because
where
of
its
the
age definitely shows.
encoding thing
So
messing up.
Dying in this game is not like dying in a normal game where you have to restart your progress, restart the level. No.
This was an interesting thing too because
Generates a password. This
I should look it
password
up.
is
I
how
never
you
looked it up.
continue the game.
Let's look it
Okay,
up.
if you wanted to
Can
stop
you
playing.
trigger a
And then it
password?
sends you back to the beginning
Metroid
of whatever
NES.
area you're in. In this case, it was Norfair. But here's
Generate
the quirk. You still have all your
password.
progression. So you'll notice in the top left, my missile count is unchanged from when I died a moment ago. So people
a whole bunch of
figured
stuff
out very
about
quickly that this is a
Typing
good
in
shortcut.
passwords.
I was done exploring Norfair. I don't want to be bothered to have to go through all those rooms and blow up blocks and all kinds of mayhem. So I just throw myself into lava. Easy shortcut. So it's definitely.
I don't see
something that can
anything,
be very
so-
easily abused. They actually ban this in most categories.
Like if there was a way to like hit a button combination that makes the password get like here's your password, like that would have been cool, but I don't think there is. So it's kind of odd to just like, oh, I want to save my game and walk away. I better kill myself. This is
was
weird.
to go from, so might as well just take a shortcut, give myself a break.
The death warp thing's pretty funny too,
Definitely
because I did that in Ridley's area.
It brings up the point that if you legitimately were like, you know what,
Saved me
I'm
from
done
having to
with
go
life,
all the way back
so
through Ridley's hideout and then all the way back through Norfair, you know?
well,
Or at least Ridley's part of it. You could do it again in Norfair. Oh wait, no you can't. I'm confused. It spared me from going all the way through Ridley's hideout
It's
again,
like if you're playing
which is
Super
nice.
Mario Bros. And like the only way to save the game was to just crash Mario into a pit or an enemy on purpose and kill him. It's just a little strange. You should be able to generate one on command, but that's just like the penalty of importing a game. That
Yeah,
was
because it
released
had
on
passwords
console
in
Japan that had an actual save
the Famicom version had actual passwords.
US by adding in this password death mechanic. So definitely.
Console I have, the Retron 5 can play Famicom, I think, but
It's time to get
that stuff's probably
serious.
pretty expensive.
Let's beat this game. So like I said before, to get into the game's final area, Turian, we have to defeat both Ridley and Kraid. Well,
here
Kraid
comes
is up
Kraid.
first. His fight pretty
Kraid was
simple.
gonna be in Metroid
Even
Prime.
getting to
They had his
Kraid's
model
fight
and
was
everything,
very
but they
easy.
cut him.
I didn't need a map to do it. I found it just fine.
Hopefully Prime 4 will bring him back.
So getting to
He's
him,
never really had
boom,
a real
here
3D
he
appearance.
is in all of his 5.5 feet, give or take, of glory.
It's funny how tiny both of them
Now,
are.
for any
Ridley's a little bit bigger,
longtime
but they're both
Metroid
pretty small.
fans, you may be surprised to see Kraid like this. He's a little on the
Yeah, there we
short
go.
side.
Doing that
Only
technique
by a
there.
little bit. I mean, he's what, 6 feet
Freezing
here?
the spike and then
I think
backing up
against
into it.
Metroid, he's
That's the
only
strategy.
increased by about 70. It's not much. Yeah, so he's drastically different in every iteration after this. That's for sure. His fight's pretty simple. He just shoots a bunch of projectiles at you. You can freeze them with the ice beam. The quirk here is that
I had a lot of
freeze
health when I
enough
went into his fight,
projectiles, he can't
and it was
spawn more,
not hard at
which then
all.
leaves him open to attack.
I just kept
I had a
freezing
hard
his
time doing this
middle
personally
hook on
because
accident
you can
before it
see
would
pros
throw
do it
out.
when they do, like, speed
I would have
runs.
beat it in probably less than 30 seconds if I didn't keep doing that.
Yeah, he's pretty simple. Now that we
Oh
beat him,
god,
we have to
this
climb back
section
to
was
get the
horrible.
warrior. So let's take
I think I struggled with it in the capture footage for like 18 minutes straight.
as they reappear.
It was bad. I wasn't even gonna talk about it at all in the episode, like at all. Like I was just gonna breeze over it if anything. But then it became like such a nightmare that I had to
It's
talk
really
about it.
hard. When you do a screw attack, your control over your jump isn't as precise as doing a normal jump, which normally isn't a problem.
And I'm not
But
a little Hollywood magic for you. Believe it or not, I'm not actually playing the game right now. I just had to like react to the footage
But
playing on the monitor, basically.
no,
Yeah.
way back down. No, oh my God, it's so tedious.
My real emotions were a lot stronger during the cash. I was screaming. I was mad. And this really happened too. Like I actually went on.
I'm just gonna use the death word.
I went to like kill myself, but then I felt like, you know what? I can't let
You know,
the
I
game
know
win.
This is considered cheating in some world.
So
Bob,
that was my father.
you're right though.
Slapped me in the face for real. There's no sound effects there. I mean,
You're
why
a true
fake the slap? You know.
and talented cameraman.
We did it like 3 times, and he had to do like lead ups, like to get the flinches out of my system.
We're gonna succeed.
That's Bob. Bob's probably not coming back. I don't know. I don't know what people think about it. I got like no feedback on it, so I don't know. If people like it, I guess I'll bring him back.
If I'm gonna say myself, I think that was
Kermit the
just
Frog
so
voice.
easy.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, I didn't want to like. I didn't want to like let the game beat me in that regard.
Now it's time for
Like,
For those of you who don't
excuse
know,
me, I don't want to
Ridley
get
is
tired
kinda
of
like
this stuff.
the closest thing to like an arch.
And of all the
nemesis,
things to like
some
give up
main
on, like I didn't want to let that
He
room
appears
defeat
in,
me,
like,
so
every Metroid game
I
except
ended
for,
up
like,
fighting my way out of it.
3.
It was horrible, but I
As
did
a
it.
Major boss or chief antagonist.
And
His
Ridley.
appearance in this
If you bring the
game,
ice
like,
beam to Ridley's
is
fight, I
actually
mean, it's
most of
so
the
much
game's
easier.
sequels. He
Having the wave
typically is
beam was
like a
not ideal.
full space
It did take like a
pterodactyl.
long
But
time.
here we go with the fight. Now the strategy for fighting Ridley is pretty much the same as Kraid. Ideally, you want to use the ice beam to
I
freeze
was trying to
the
farm
fireball
HP right here,
to
because I go into
eventually
Ridley's boss
render
room with
the
like
spawning
less than
hole,
1 energy
which is
tank.
completely vulnerable.
Not much room for
I
error
didn't
there, you know?
bring the ice beam though. I decided to shake things up and switch to the wave beam instead, which Feels like it does a little more damage.
And
it-
frame rate, like in the game,
projectiles
so
move
slow
in this,
because
like,
of all the
sine
projectiles
curve.
bouncing around.
But that means I can't freeze his projectiles. So maybe I can try to get behind him. Oh, here we go.
But then, there we go. And this is where the wave beam actually pays off, because the wave beam can go around those fireballs most of the time, at least.
I have to wonder if the wave beam's even doing damage. I mean, most of the shots do get through.
It did take a long time, and did not require my attention because of how simple it was. Because he can't hit you at all where you're in that spot. Like they fade away before they get to you. That purple jacket too. I still have it. I haven't worn it for anything in a while though. It's pretty heavy. This is in summer too, so like miserable. I would get really sweaty after like a few minutes of filming.
Alright.
With Ridley and Kraid both defeated, the pathway to Turian is now open. It's important to note that you need the ice beam if you're going to go into Turian. And the
Yeah,
game
God,
has
man,
a
you can't
balancing
even.
system for this.
I thought that it would be possible to like run past everything in Turian without the ice beam. I tried. I don't think. I'm sure some crazy gamer pro can do it, but I couldn't make it work beyond the first 10 seconds of being down in this area. Because a lot of the passwords that put you at the end of the game don't give you the ice beam. Like the Justin Bailey code and whatnot. Like so few of them give you the ice beam. They usually give you the wave beam.
So get yourself the ice beam and then head into Turian. Turian is the only part of the game that feels more like a typical side
Metroids
because it's linear.
will give you a lot of energy, but
no exploration.
it's easy to waste your missiles on them. Because I actually ran out of missiles. Because I blew them all fighting Metroids. Because like you don't have to kill all the Metroids to get into the next room, which is different than Super Metroid, if I'm remembering correctly. Because that one you do have to kill every enemy in the rooms to go through Turian. So you can run past them if you're fast enough. But typically they're pretty quick. They come at you.
It's pretty devastating, especially if more than one grab you at the same time. They can only be defeated by freezing them and then hitting them with missiles. And this is why the ice beam is so important for this game. Without it, you could use missiles alone, but it's unlikely you'd ever hit them enough times to kill them before they have a chance to grab onto you.
Yeah.
As you push further into Turian,
Running out of
every room has
missiles.
Metroids, and eventually rooms start to spawn these ring-shaped projectiles called rinkas. They come from every direction, and they do pretty significant damage. It's just trying to wear you down before you get to Mother Brain's chambers.
Those ring projectiles are pretty nuts.
Really obnoxious. You can learn to predict where they're coming from. You can
Definitely
freeze
is
them in
like
place,
pretty weird.
But there are times
Because they'll spawn at angles where,
you can't avoid, like the door
like that one right there. Like there was nothing I could do. It spawned like 2 feet in front of
as you
me
keep pushing through
and
the
just
path,
collided immediately.
eventually you'll find yourself at the final
Flicker again.
So this is it. The final room in the game. Mother Brain's chambers. The objective here is pretty simple.
68
Get
missiles.
to the end of the room and defeat Mother
No.
Brain. But
Nope.
between her and here are a
That
bunch of
sucks
barriers
so
called
hard.
Sabotage, or
I didn't think I was gonna get like as stuck as I did on this encounter because I think it took me like 3 or 4
this is where
tries to beat
gets
it.
really difficult because you have ring projectiles. The rinkas are coming at you from
awful.
every angle. There's turrets firing. There's so much going on that the game's slowing down. It's pandemonium.
The game was slow motion like the entire
The
time.
first time I did this,
If you can freeze 3 of those things, they stop spawning,
because
but
nothing in here.
they would typically always be in my way whenever I would finally do it.
What you come in is what you got to play with, and if you run out,
I ran out before I even
you can
got
only
to it.
backtrack. So I thought to myself, well, maybe I can kill Metroids for health and more missiles. Well, paradox, because Metroids also can only be killed by missiles.
It is like a flaw. Oh yeah, light sensitivity. I put this in way after I finished it. I felt like it was necessary because of the strobe that happens when you kill Mother Brain. A friend of mine, when we were doing a test screening of this, he reacted to it like, "Oh God!" So that was my cue to be like, "Okay, we should fix this."
The barriers that you destroy actually stay destroyed.
That is pretty cool to know. So like, yeah, the Zibitite, when you destroy it, it stays gone, which is interesting. So I spent like 30 minutes grinding up to get full missiles, only to realize I only needed like half of what I grinded up because they're still destroyed. So.
That's it. The challenge comes from just trying to find the
she takes 33 missiles to defeat, and they have to hit her with you over on that side of the screen. That's the thing that I actually didn't mention that, because you can see a couple of shots hit her, but they don't do anything. It's because I'm not like on the Mother Brain screen. If it's off the screen, it doesn't exist. That's the NES in a nutshell.
It's somewhere north of like 30 missiles. I want to say it's like 33, and then boom.
Yeah, there we go. So now she's dead, and then the
seizure. Well, we did it, right? That's it.
Yeah, light sensitivity, because that is pretty rough.
End credits. Champagne, popcorn.
God, it was scary. Like the broken
Time
pixels
bomb
that I guess that was the bomb. I don't know.
Gotta go fast. You gotta escape. You gotta navigate these narrow platforms and get out before the time
so many
expires
Metroid games
and
had the
bomb
escape
goes
sequence.
off.
This game has it.
Is the tradition of the Metroid
Super has it. Prime
off the
1
top of my head,
has it in the beginning, and it has it in the end, but you don't actually have to do it.
5 of the games
So it's twice technically.
have this, like, you know,
Prime
12 that
2
there are, you know,
has its own
so
version of it.
definitely
You're
a
it's a boss fight this
significant portion
time.
of the Metroid franchise has a sequence where
Does
you're
Prime 3
escaping
have anything? I don't think Prime 3 has
self-destructing.
anything like that.
Definitely a cool series tradition. But once we get to the top,
Zero Mission's a remake of this
is
game.
now officially over.
That has it.
So we did
Does
it.
Other M
Here's
have
the
it?
ending. Great. You fulfilled your mission.
I think so.
It will
Well,
revive pieces
oh yeah,
that
I think it does in the
may be
post
invaded
game
by the other
thing.
Metroid. But
I think.
Wait, what
So
do
a
we
lot
get,
of
the
games have it.
piece or the space?
And fulfilled. So fulfilled is spelled
Here
wrong.
we go.
I didn't notice that either when I filmed this. My mom pointed that out. She was like, "Fulfilled spelled wrong."
So there we have it. The big twist.
Didn't even notice.
Thomas is a woman.
She has like
Or
frizzy hair.
Judging by that. Pretty cool though.
My game
because
collection.
the manual
It's so different now.
actually
I haven't.
intentionally
It
misdirects
hasn't really been on
It
screen
describes Samus with masculine
ever,
pronouns
but I got
like
like
he or him.
that's like a whole
So
bunch of
that
different
makes it a
consoles
really big twist
condensed.
for a lot of people that first
I now
played
have
the
one of
NES.
those racks for
Obviously, you
every
pretty much
kind of
have
game
to have the
console
manual
now.
for it
So
to be
they're
twist.
a lot of them are pretty empty, but
If it was just like reveal,
I buy like 3 or 4
reveal, 'cause you're like, oh, it's the
games
whole time? Okay.
uh,
But with this, it's like
every couple of weeks across
this
different
lied to
consoles.
me.
So we're getting there.
Seeing without the helmet on is the third best ending. To get the
Her
best
blank
ending,
face
you have to
as
do
it
I wanna
zooms in
say
slowly.
under an hour. That's pretty tough for someone like me. I'm not
Oh yeah,
like
I couldn't
a
do this
super
legit,
talented
so I had to
speedrunner or
use G
anything.
codes to start
But
off
there
with the
is a
game
way that
timer
we
at
can see
0,
this. We could use
get the
some
ice
of the
beam, beat the
codes.
game, and then
check
see
that.
So
the
you
better
use a
ending.
password that'll place us at Turing
I am no
with all
speedrunner.
items and upgrades. With
I think the world record is like under 14 minutes for Metroid. Last I heard, which was a while ago, so it's probably even lower now. I followed speedrunning a lot in its early days, not because I was into speedrunning, but because it was the best way to see like a walkthrough kind of like gameplay. So I would go to Speed Demos Archive to be like, okay, how do I beat this one part of Paper Mario? And like you look it up there and see it. Or the bikini.
Man, Nintendo.
I have to like, I'm a little, I gotta wonder like why this hasn't been brought up in this era of like social justice and equality.
Samus in a bikini.
I know that it would be like old news because like this is 30 years ago, but like still, I think it's worth mentioning because they decided to make history with this female protagonist, but they also at the same time turn it right back around the other way with this kind of thing. Like, oh, you beat it fast enough and she's got less clothes on. I mean, you want to beat it faster now, right? They also changed what she looks like too. She was like a brunette or like a dirty blonde at least before Metroid Prime 2.
They're celebrating that.
Like Prime 1, she looks like she did in the manual for Super Metroid. She was like a pretty like muscular dirty blonde or brunette. I'm not really sure. It's one of the two. It's definitely not like what she's now. And then Zero Mission and Metroid Prime 2 is when the Zero suit came into play.
Absolutely not.
So I don't know. They it's like it's very mixed. On one hand, it's cool to have a strong female protagonist. On the other hand, they're just catering to like that, like kind of thing, you know, like.
One of the more flawed games in the series.
I wanna gravitate toward a character for who they are, not what they look like, you know. At least when it comes to regular things like this, it doesn't bother me that much, but like I just feel like it's worth a small discussion at the very least.
So one final thing I wanted to go over
because they have stopped doing that. So I want to say Zero Mission was probably the last game where you beat it and you got to see her with less clothes on. It was like this shorts and like a sports bra thing. Ever since then, she's had the Zero suit, which is it's form fitting, but at least it's not like, you know, straight up just wearing less clothes. Yeah, but whatever. It's like I said, it's old news. It's 30 years old, so who cares? I guess no one cares. No one wants to bring it up.
It's just awesome. They even added upgrades.
Zero Mission is really good. That's a good game.
So things like the space jump and the
They did a great job not just remaking that game, but like enhancing it beyond belief.
So it's super awesome.
This footage comes from the idle screen from letting the game just sit there. It plays this little video. Some of it is me though, but a lot of it's just the title footage. Just because it made for a great little montage to talk about how cool the game is. Just didn't have time to like play through all of this and still do other things for the show at this time. I probably will do a video on Zero Mission though one day. I think it's worth it. It's pretty cool.
Let's move on to the conclusion.
Well, that about wraps up this revisiting of Metroid.
I did like no joke,
In
like
summary,
20 plus
one word, it would
takes
be
of this
antiquated.
scene.
And that definitely sounds negative.
Because
And it kind of
during
is.
this they were
So,
longer,
The first, like,
so
20, 30
it's like a
minutes of this
5-minute
game
clip of me
were
talking, and like if
a
I
mixture of
stutter
being really, really
or make a
boring
point that I
and
didn't
really, really
like or
tedious.
whatever, I would be like,
Once you
ah,
start to get
and then like
forward,
redo it. Nowadays,
it gets far more
my
interesting
individual
and
takes are
more
shorter,
fun.
and I hide the cuts in different ways. They're not that short. They're still usually like 30 seconds to a minute, 2 minutes even sometimes. But yeah, it's like
that you can explore.
you know, I'm learning, I'm improving. That's the point.
At least missiles and morph ball bombs. At that point,
Should probably mention those posters back there if it shows up again. I got a couple
So it's got like this huge
posters in view.
It doesn't have a map system.
You
And
got
the
2
map
different
comes with
JoJo
manuals
posters
and
and 2
jokes.
different Godzilla posters.
So a lot of people get
I
confused,
love
and
JoJo's
that's
Bizarre
a big
Adventure. I think
turnoff
it's
for this
a
game.
very
A
entertaining
friend of mine
series.
said that exact thing. He
This
was like,
camera
"I played
angle
for
was
20
not
minutes,
meant to
didn't
highlight
know where
those.
I
It was
should
just
go, and I
it
gave
was
up."
just like what angle can I
That's happened to
use
me,
that
too. I got, like, I tried
has
to
games in it,
Brinstar,
and that's what it's all about. I noticed now that there's like a Febreze thing down there. We had an animal, some kind of pest animal, like a rat or something, or like a mouse, crawled up somewhere and died, and there was a corpse smell in there for a while. That's like a thing for that. Unfortunate for the animal, obviously. It crawled like in between a wall or something. We don't know where it is.
And gotten all the way through
Sad.
it to the end without using a map, you are crazy. Because that means
I have a
you
lot
would've been,
more.
Like, morph ball bombing, like,
Because
every
those
single
games
time
there,
in
I have a
this
lot
whole
more
room
PlayStation 2
trying to see
games, a
where
lot
the
more
camera can't
PS1
go.
games,
It's
way
ridiculous.
more Xbox
And
original
that's, like,
games
the biggest
that were
attraction
stored
of it.
elsewhere because they won't all fit on those racks there. I picked like my
That
favorites
said,
basically.
with the
That
mouse,
is all
as
of the
you do
PS3 and
upgrades, as is
PS4
the
games I
world,
own, and the Wii and
it's pretty
GameCube as
cool.
well.
It's
I
pretty
bought
fun.
more
It's an
since
engaging experience.
GameCube,
It's cool.
Wii, but
It's
PS4
just, like,
games I don't
doesn't
have a
hold
lot.
up very well. It's definitely mechanically inferior.
Xbox
to all
One
the
definitely
sequels,
was
which
my
obviously
favorite
makes
for
sense. It's the first
that
one. It's an NES
generation.
Um,
I'm not a fan of any one thing in
sense.
particular, though. I like all games, so
could really only
if I
recommend
can,
this
you know,
for,
there's a
like,
good
real
deal.
hardcore
I try to own
no
as
one
much
else,
of it as I
would
can.
imagine would have that much fun with it.
So
There
I did get a
are far
PlayStation
better
4
NES
shortly
games that
before
hold
the
up way better
PS4
than
Pro
this
came
stuff
out because
that
the
you
base
play,
model went on
like,
sale.
say, Mega Man 2, Super Mario Bros. 3,
I had an Xbox
Kirby's
One at
Adventure.
launch.
Those are all NES games that
connected
don't
everything.
feel that dated. Like, you could play them and still have fun with them, like, legit.
I enjoyed a lot of
This
their early
one,
exclusives,
you
like
kinda
Sunset
have to force
Overdrive
yourself
and
through at certain points. You're just like telling
Rise,
yourself,
Son of
okay, I've
Rome was
gotta
pretty
get past this
fun.
part, and then it gets better.
some others they've had since.
That is like a summation of this whole game. If I get through this,
So what I
it
was
gets
trying to
better.
say is
So
that
that's kind of how it was.
mechanically,
Right.
visually, and audibly,
Next
Metroid
time,
is like so
something far more
archaic compared to like any other NES
fun.
game.
Insane.
And like the only way to like know what I'm saying
one
is to
thing
just play it for yourself.
Is that we're gonna
Play
be
the
doing-
NES Metroid for like 10 minutes
Aileron.
and then pop in like
But in this game, they
Legend of Zelda or Kirby's Adventure, Super Mario Bros. 3, and like they're so sophisticated by comparison, and just like every way. And you can't say that it's 100% because of how early Metroid is, because it isn't that early in the NES's lifespan. It's like 2 years in, so like there's stuff that like plays and looks a lot better that came from the same year or even before. Even like Super Mario Bros. Has like a little bit more going for it. Not much, but like they're kind of similar. But yeah, you just gotta play it to know what I'm talking about with that. So it just like feels older. Like if you played that Metroid game and then popped in like Super Mario Bros., like I wouldn't be terribly surprised if someone that didn't know any better would guess the Metroid came first. Not like taking a shot at it, but just like the impression that I always got when I played it. Like it's just, this feels old. But yeah. Well, there we go. That's the pilot episode. That was a lot of fun. I can show some. I'll put some clips throughout this thing that show alternate takes. Some right now. I mean, that episode transformed so much. There was like different angles at first, and then like redos and all kinds of stuff that changed throughout because that was my first one. And so much has changed since then. For every video after that, I use a different kind of capture card, and the camera's the same. The camera hasn't changed. But like different capture card, different computer setup. Just so many things have gotten better. So I wanted to do these commentary things because 5 years from now, I want to be able to like look back and remember little trivia bits about the experience that I may not remember otherwise. You know, record the history, talk about some interesting behind the scenes things. You know, so hey, hope you thought it was fun. Definitely thanks for watching. I will be doing commentaries on all of the review episodes that I've done. I'm not going to do them for other videos. That's just ridiculous. But I'm going to do them for all the core episode content for my channel. So, hey, thank you for watching, and you guys have a great rest of your day.